Hey everyone, today I'm in Shawnee, Oklahoma, and I wanted to show you somebody important that's in the Fairview Cemetery. And I'm sure you've heard something that they've done before. You probably just don't realize who's responsible for it. So I can already tell that I need to come back here and take a look around. There's some neat gate entrances on the front side right there. It's on the west side of the cemetery. All sorts of monuments to veterans right here. Neat little mausoleum. There are Union veterans in here, and there are Confederate States of America veterans in here. There are some names in here that I recognize from places throughout Shawnee, like street names and such. And there's some interesting monuments, to say the least. But we're really here to visit one person, and that is right back here in the center of the screen, Higley. And this is the final resting place for Dr. Brewster Higley. And he was born in 1822 and died in 1911 here in Shawnee, Oklahoma. You can see on the right, his wife is there, Sarah Ellen, 1844 to 1911. And they are listed as father and mother. And on the left, they have a son, Everett, 1880 to 1914. And then his wife is here, Viola, 1879 to 1962. It's a very nice, large monument. It's kind of sad that mother and father and son all passed away real close together. But I love the vases with the H there. And then there's a flagpole here. And I guess it's a flagpole. It could have been a sign right there at one time, maybe stating the history. But there's this marker right there, which we'll take a look at in just a second. This just says Higley on the back. God gave, He took, He will restore. But this little monument right here that someone has placed here, and it was placed here in 1948, it says, Home on the Range. Brewster Higley was born in Indiana in 1822, authored this song while living in Kansas, died after a long residence in Shawnee, Oklahoma. And if you look there, there's just sort of a sunset, I guess you could say. Maybe a cowboy, maybe an Indian on horseback on the far right, buffalo underneath the sunset, and then just sort of a range there, and some deer up on the cliff. Pretty neat little monument. I thought we would tell a little bit about him. Interesting marker right here too though. Corporal George Wallen, Company A in the 23rd Missouri Infantry, born March 3rd, 1847 and died March 29th, 1916. Dr. Brewster Higley was a physician who was a native of Ohio. In 1871 or 1872, he homesteaded in Kansas after suffering the loss of 3 wives and a failed marriage. He decided it was time to move west and start a new life. Once there, he took a 5th wife and started practicing medicine in Gaylord, Kansas, located on the North Fork of the Solomon River, not far from the Nebraska border. In addition to practicing medicine, he also enjoyed writing poetry and playing the violin. His new home in Kansas inspired him to pen some lines. The title of his composition was My Western Home. Dr. Higley placed the poem in a book and completely forgot about it. That was until a friend of his named True Reese of Smith Center, Kansas, brought him a gunshot victim for treatment. While waiting on the doctor, Reese discovered the poem in the book. He liked it so much that he encouraged the doctor to have it published. The doctor did so in the South County Pioneer in 1873, and it listed Higley as the author. Dr. Higley then requested a druggist friend of his, Dan Kelly, to help him put the words to music. In time, the song became highly popular across the nation and especially on the cattle trails. There were some variations of it as it was altered to fit where people lived. So for example, it might be My Arizona Home or My Colorado Home. Others who didn't even know the words would just simply hum it or whistle it or play it on the harmonica, guitar, or violin. Since that time, it has been considered by many to be the most sung cowboy song of all time. Gene Autry, Roy Rogers, Marty Robbins, Bing Crosby, John Denver, and Willie Nelson are just a few of the many artists who have put this song to record. In 1932, Franklin D. Roosevelt declared it as his favorite song and brought it into popularity all over the world. The state of Kansas adopted it as its state song in 1947. Now, Dr. Higley never saw royalties from this song, but he is credited with the creation of it. Eventually, he left Kansas for Shawnee, Oklahoma, where he lived out the rest of his life, passing just shortly after his wife. His creation has become the anthem of the West. However, it is interesting that the words "home on the range" never appear in his original lyrics. So there are many versions of this song, Home on the Range, and I'm sure that you've heard them at some time or another. They've been sung by country music artists. I know Michael Martin Murphey is one that comes to mind, but I think several have done it in different concerts or different festivals for bluegrass. Maybe you might have heard it there. But you can also see that Roy Rogers, the famous singing cowboy on TV, has also done a version of it, and it's a very popular version because it sounds like the Old West in a way. But there are others who have done it, like John Denver. That's a big one. I think one of my favorite versions is Marty Robbins, just because he has an amazing voice. So I like his rendition of it. But like I said, I thought you might want to know some of the history behind the song. And it's an important part of folk figure history in America. So there are these rock gates on the west side of the cemetery, very ornate and lots of details in them. They do not let you enter on this west side of the cemetery where this brick wall is, and I think it's just simply because of all the traffic that's over there. But there are several gates all the way down through here. The reason why I'm on this side of the cemetery, though, is when you're traveling on here, you'll notice a sign. It's a historical sign that is talking about Home on the Range, and I figured we would come read it. And it says the author's grave in Fairview Cemetery. Dr. Brewster Higley, born in 1822 of Indiana, wrote the song when he lived in Kansas. These words were printed in a local paper in 1873, and it became a favorite song along the cattle trails. First published in 1910, the author never saw a copy nor received a cent of royalty. His last home was in Shawnee, Oklahoma, where he died May 11th, 1911. So I think you can read this side of the sign a lot better. I should have shown that side. But there is a lot of interesting markers in this cemetery, and I will have to come back. There's a lot of them that catch my eye and I'm curious about. And I don't know if there's anyone else that is notable for the area. Each one of these is special, of course, but they might not be famous. But this here, parked right there, and it caught my eye, has a large upright marker, and the name is Allen. And some of the dates caught my eye. You have baby Nelson, just a youngster that died in 1914. And then another young one, Dorothy Ann Nelson, died in 1913. Another young one right there, little Cecil, daughter of H.W. and B. Allen, born in 1907 and died in 1909, just shy of a 2-year birthday there. And Ernest Allen, a little bit older there, 19 years old, but still relatively young. Eddie Allen, looks like he was 2 years old, 3 months. And then we have Mabel Allen, 3 years, 11 months, 12 days. Clyde Allen, and 1 month, I guess, and 8 days. Another Mabel, last name is Weicker, Weaker maybe, and that's just 7 months, 21 days. Back there we have a little bit older ones. Annie F. Allen, 56 years old. And then Sarah E. Allen, 51 years. H.W. Allen, 84 years. Biddy Allen, 40 years right there. Pretty interesting. They're just little tiny ones. Almost look like miniature government markers or something, but they're all uniform. They're all in a row, and they all show unity to the family. Big tall marker right there is Walker. There's just a lot of interesting ones. This is a large cemetery, really. A lot of older markers, some newer ones. It's still an active cemetery here. And there's a modern memorial right there to all the branches of service. And there are quite a few veterans in here, like Frank Barnett, Company E of the 189th Ohio Infantry. And then up in this area, you can see the crosses up there, and I know that those are for the Confederate States Army. And look how many there are. So it's definitely something that I'm going to have to come back to and explore more. That's obviously a child with the lamb on top. That's obviously Woodmen of the World. But there are a lot of medallion markers in this cemetery. So we have Confederate States of America right there, Company C, looks like 11th Mississippi Cavalry. So there's quite a few. This one has fallen down. But here you have a Union veteran right here. And then that's another Union. Pretty interesting to see all this old section like this, and to see these Confederate veterans right here. So at some point when I have more time, we will come back and just try to feature some of these ones that are part of the Confederate Army and Confederate States of America, that CSA. So thanks for joining me on this little episode about Home on the Range and who pinned it. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned a little bit of something. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and maybe share it for me. That'll help a lot. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.